When I was recruited in the ANC Youth League at the age of 14, there was a guy called Belezwan. He identified us, I think we were 4, trying to establish courses at school. So he just called us to say, boys, what you are doing, I think you are going to be wasting your time.
There's seemingly a pattern in the ANC Youth League that once you become a chairperson, then you are entitled to a larger extent to be in government. You benefited from that. What do you make of the call now by the incumbent leadership of the ANC Youth League?
I was too much comfortable as the chief of staff of Walter Mgomezulu in the Gert Sibande district, and I could not be on the spotlight at that particular point in time.
Episode number 3 of The Big Seat. Thank you so much for having glued in on the previous 2 episodes we've held here on The Big Seat, and it's an honor for us to be conversating with you, bringing some of the latest conversations in the province. We will try and crisscross all regions of our province to bring you prominent leaders who emerges from those areas. And in this particular episode is not different, because I'm sitting with an individual in the ranks of the African National Congress. He has been in all the stages. I mean, you talk of the ANC Youth League in a region, he chaired that particular cohort of leaders. You talk of the ANC in the province, he has chaired that particular cohort of leaders as well. I mean, if also you talk of him being usomlomo of a region, he has done that. And now I know he is the former Deputy Chairperson. I think because there's been a disbandment in the region, so it will be safe to say former, but we'll definitely pose it to him. My guest in this episode is Thulasizwe Thomo. He's also the MEC of the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport, but primarily we're going to focus on him as an individual, not so much on what he does, but we know that those somewhat intertwine somehow, so we'll definitely be navigating all those terrains. MEC, or my good friend Thulasizwe Thomo, thank you so much as always, for agreeing when we invited you to come, and it's an honor for us to host you and in such a cool setting outside the office. I know that you are leading one of the most busiest departments. We don't take it lightly for you agreeing to come have a sit down with us. Welcome.
No, thanks, Musa. Thanks for having us. Greetings to yourself and the viewers or listeners at home. I think this is really a privilege for me to be amongst the top 3, if I may say, to be interviewed in this podcast. But one must firstly congratulate yourself for this establishment. I think you are doing well.
Sure.
You need the necessary support from both the private sector and ourselves in the government to ensure that you continue to grow. So you give us space to actually express ourselves in terms of the work that we do as both leaders in politics and in government, which is something that our people should be getting from time to time in that space. But we really appreciate for you having us here.
Yeah. You know, I've been just trying to, because you think you know someone until you actually punch their name and search out who's this person. And there's something that really stood out for me. In every particular setting you've had, you've not shied away from using certain descriptive words to describe where you're from. I know you're from Lothe, that's in Demsogalekwa local municipality, right? But I like how you always describe yourself when other people who don't know who you are and ask you where you're from. You always use the word from a poverty-stricken Lothe. Talk us through why is that important, number one, but maybe run us through your upbringing. Ekaya, umama no baba. How was your upbringing to such an extent that at the age of 14, I believe, that's when you started having interest in politics?
Yeah, I grew up in Lothe. I'm from Lothe. Well, I was raised by my mother. I had to know my father. I think I was doing standard 8, if I'm not mistaken. But the pastor when he was from Thulasizwe, Thulasizwe number 7. So I did not spend much time with him to get to know him. The reason I had to always say I'm from Lothe, a poverty-stricken area, you can go there even now. It's one place that it's a tiny village that is having a lot of young people who are unemployed rather. There's high poverty in that particular space. It's one area which has taught me the values of life, and to be what I am. I believe strongly so that it is that particular place that has made me to be what I am today.
Yeah.
Because we still believe that a child, to be a child and to grow, there has to be number of families. So we were taught by different families. We grew up under different families in that particular space.
Yeah.
So it is a highly poverty-stricken area, but we are trying, some of us that have not necessarily made it, but who have been exposed to life, to at least assist those that are coming after us. I'm assisting currently a few young people who are in university, others who are interested in different fields like firefighters, security. So that is the posture which we have taken with the generation that is ahead of us, and some of us that are coming after those generations. So it is that kind of a place, just like any other country that you know. But we were not that much privileged, just like other people who have grown up in town, just like here in Nelspruit. So that's how I always describe Lothe, and it's one place that I'm proud to grow in, and I believe that we're still going to produce a lot of Thulasizwe in that particular space. We've got a lot of doctors, just by the way, who have studied in Cuba. I think 3 or 2, if I'm not mistaken, that are there, and we still have others that are still in Cuba studying. So it's one place that we really admire, and some of us, we strongly believe that when time goes, it will be transformed to be the better.
Then how does politics meet you, or how does the political bar beat when you are at the age of 14 at the time? You know, who are your role models? Who are you seeing around, you know, growing up in Lothe? Who's becoming more prominent in the scene? Or Woba Namakhansela, if you knew or remember at the time?
When I was recruited in the ANC Youth League at the age of 14, there was a guy called Pelezwan who recruited me. Still there. I was with him even over the weekend in the ANC Youth League. But he identified us, I think we were 4, trying to establish courses at school. So he just called us to say, boys, what you are doing, I think you are going to be wasting your time. Let's come and contributing to community activism, because the ANC Youth League is known of contributing to the broader politics of community and shaping the political discourse in that particular community. So we were recruited in that particular fashion. There are a lot of guys that the former mayor of Msugalikwa, 2 mayors just by the way, they are from Lothe. There's BJ Mkhalipi, who was a mayor of Msugalikwa. There's also Sipobongwe, who was a mayor of Msugalikwa. He's from Lothe. Both of them, they're originally from Lothe. One prominent business person is also a politician, who was a very close friend of the then Deputy President of the ANC, Tubzwan. He's from Lothe as well. Wow. So those are people that we looked after. Those are people that we have nurtured our politics around, in that particular space. But there are a lot of leaders who came before themselves. I remember at some point we were very young when Matthew Posa came with a helicopter in Lothe. So those are some of the issues, or rather incidents, that inspired some of us to join politics. But of course, we joined politics at the age of 14 years. Because the ANC Youth League allows us at that particular point in time. Then it was then. And fortunately, when I joined the ANC Youth League, immediately I was a branch treasurer. But from there, I think I served 3 terms after that one as the chairperson of the branch. Then I was elevated to the region, to the province. I never jumped any stage of the ANC Youth League, so I participated. What I am, nurtured, molded by the ANC Youth League. What you see to me is the ANC Youth League. What I am forever indebted to the African National Congress Youth League.
I'm more fascinated on your upbringing. You see Matthew Posa, I think at the time he's a premier. He comes with a helicopter. What does that do to you, you know, psychologically? Do you then aspire to be a politician automatically, or it drives you to say, who is this individual? What does he do? I want to be like him, or I want, or what sort of inspiration then do you draw from that particular incident or scenario you've just
well, at that time, Musa, one was not clued up as to whether this man is a politician or what, but we were told that a big person is coming in Lothe.
Wow.
So all of us were gathered in that particular space. I think it was next to one of the complexes that I told you, of a man that I told you about, Mr. Zwane, where he landed. So those are some of the things that inspired us to say, if a helicopter can land in this space, it means that we can also land in other big spaces. So we got inspired by those particular moments, and which we still, because we can memorize them, which we still get inspired by those memories even now. So I think, Musa, what shaped us is the background that we come from, and those kind of incidents, or rather situations that we are explaining in this podcast today.
You become, somewhat of a prominent leader in the ANC Youth League, but now you're still in the region of
Am I prominent, eh?
No, you were. You were. I don't want to lie. You were.
Yeah.
First time, you see, I started paying interest into the politics of our province when my peers started emerging. All along, obviously, there are, the ones that came before. I was interested, but not that much. When I started seeing individuals that I'm a lonely Nananam, and now you're hearing that this person is the chairperson.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Just maybe talk us through around leading up to you then becoming the ANC's regional chair. Do you still remember?
Well, I still do remember. Sure. It is, one thing that I always say, I always tell those that I'm surrounded with, especially the boys that are coming after us, to say, what is painful about some of us is that I never contested any position where there was no noise. Even the position that I'm occupying,
now
there was noise, of course, yes. But I became a leader of the ANC Youth League at the regional level. Remember when there was this rebuilding process?
Sure,
we were appointed. I became a member of the task team, if I'm not mistaken. The task team, But unfortunately, when we go to conference, I did not make it. Then I was actually requested not to stand because there were a lot of males, understanding the gender parity issue. Then I was promised an issue of being co-opted. It was myself and Comrade Gracious from Governing Big. So we later co-opted. In that particular space, I think midterm, Trevor was the chair. The late Trevor Nkosi was the chair. Sabelo Skakani and Gert Sibande was... No, Sabelo Skakane was the chair,
and then
Trevor was the secretary. Then midterm, I was appointed the spokesperson of the Youth League.
Sure.
I started there to be the spokesperson of the ANC Youth League. Then immediately after that term, we went to another conference. I became an additional member of the ANC Youth League. Trevor was then the chair. Then the following term, I was then the regional chair of the ANC Youth League when Trevor was the deputy chairperson. But I'm saying in all these conferences that I've contested, there was noise. You remember there was a particular conference where I was elected as chair when they shot someone and died. Yes. So there was a scuffle, a serious scuffle. So that is one issue which worries me, that all positions that I'm contesting, there's noise that is there every time when these conferences they sit. But if this is what God has actually planned about my life, I'm embracing that. Because that is what even worries my mother, to say, but why whenever you are supposed to emerge as a leader, there will be noise, and you guys are going to be all over the news and so on and so forth. You will know that we were 5 with the driver, 6 just by the way. It was myself, Mzwake, Muzi Manyathi, and Castro Ndumiso Mkako. And Trevor, we were very close friends. So our families were worried, to say, you guys, whenever you step the ladder of the ANC Youth League or the processes of the ANC, there will be noise. Why is that? So, but I think it's the nature of the game, by the way. So that is one thing which I think one is worried about, but has learned to embrace and live with it.
I will get to a point where I talk about your friendship, among the very people you've mentioned. Maybe now let's go to, because I'm trying to fast forward the conversation. So we now, associate you to the status of leadership that many people started knowing you from. is that one of being the ANC Youth League chair in the province. Yes, Gert Sibande knew you. For some of us who come from Gert Sibande, we knew you. We knew the ANC has this leader in young people. These are the leaders. But when it came to the province, I suppose you became more prominent and visible and accessible, at least to the province, because now you had emerged in, is it 2022 at Damin, August? Was it 2022, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2022. It's 2025 now. Yes, 2022.
Yeah,
Correct,
2022.
Yeah.
I mean, true to what you said. I mean, whenever you emerge, seemingly there is this cloud. Just the following August of 2023, your structure as Youth League was already disbanded. Do you recall why?
Okay, Musa. You see, this is one matter. I was just telling comrades yesterday, comrades of Sanzen, I was with the current regional chair of the Youth League.
I saw you guys, by the way, in Commerce.
Yeah. Comrade Kabang. We're having just a light discussion,
Sure.
So he triggered that debate or that discussion. I said to him, you see, Kabana, this is one discussion which I took a conscious decision that I'm not going to discuss it publicly or privately. Yeah. But now that we are discussing it, let us just discuss it. Yeah. That is the same approach which I'm going to take with you. Look, personally, I strongly feel, Musa, let me probably start here. Growing up in the movement, given the history that I've just given you,
sure,
we were taught and told that we need to abide by all decisions taken by the upper structures.
Sure.
That you call democratic centralism.
Sure.
There's going to be debates, there's going to be disagreements. But if the majority has agreed on that particular decision, you guys have to abide by that. Now, the reason I'm giving you this context is because when we were disbanded, we abided as a collective that was disbanded with that particular decision. Although there were few amongst ourselves as that particular collective to say, no. But what they have disbanded us upon, it's really not a point. Which now comes to my own personal view. I strongly feel that disbandment, this is the first time I'm saying this, it was really a factional disbandment. It was not within the ambits of the constitution of the ANC Youth League, nor even within the ambits of the constitution of the ANC Youth League. For we were perceived as people that are going to be a hindrance to progress of certain individuals who at that point in time, or who are still probably in power, and who are still perceived, just by the way, by those particular individuals as people that are not going to assist them. Remember, when we were disbanded, already there were talks about 2026 ANC provincial conference to say people are building their own stepping or rather campaign towards 2026. So our disbandment, in my view, it was not a genuine disbandment that seeks to rebuild the ANC Youth League, but it was a disbandment solely aimed at removing these ones, putting our own people that are going to ensure that we move and occupy the positions of regions, have our own regional structures of the ANC Youth League, have the ANC as our own, and also ultimately 2026 provincial conference of the ANC. So that is my view. But we still respect that decision. I still respect that decision, although I strongly feel that it was not an appropriate decision taken by structure. I registered my views with the current SG of the ANC Youth League immediately after that disbandment. That honestly, my brother, the decision that you took, because when we entered that meeting, I remember vividly, it was August, it was during Castro's birthday, the same day of
2023 now.
Yes, same day of Castro's birthday.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to Luwatin to celebrate my brother's birthday. Then I had to go to, because we respect the organization, I had to go to Sentin to attend that NEC. And we were disbanded with frivolous reasons that does not hold water.
Among the reasons is that you were defiant as a leadership. Apparently, you were given orders, you did not obey to them. Because I did try and understand the rationale behind the disbandment of Because I'm going to lay it like this. Yes, one of the reasons I was given is that you guys did not abide by the directives of the mother structure. And there were meetings that you were not. Yes.
Yeah.
So, was that even true?
No. If there were meetings that I did not attend myself as the chair, I think there were 2.
Yeah.
But Thandeka as a secretary at that time, I think she attended all meetings. But what I know is that there were disagreements between the then provincial secretary, with other members, which I cannot mention, at the national, because they saw her as a problem at that particular point in time. Initially, there was a view, just by the way, before they resort to disbandment, to say we must suspend Thandeka as a secretary. And collectively, as the PEC at that time, we refused to say, but there are no grounds for us to suspend her. At least give us grounds to suspend her.
Now, this is before the national conference.
No, this is before. Okay, going to the national conference, just by the way, National Congress of the Youth League, just by the way, already there were talks to say it's either we remove this Thandeka or we disband the structure. So we go to the National Congress of the ANC Youth League, knowing exactly what is likely to happen to us.
Sure.
So that is why when we even went to, it's just that I forgot the date, when we went to Sentin in that National Executive Committee meeting, some of the NEC members came to us, because we were close to some of these comrades. Came to us that Thulasizwe, you guys are going to be disbanded this evening. These are the reasons that are being put forth, and our view, them saying to us, our view, this thing is really not. It's not building the organization, and it's not even organizational. But because some of us, we still have ambitions, and we can't just raise these issues. These people have power, so we are likely about to jeopardize our chances of going to parliament. Because remember, it was the processes of going to parliament, the nominations and so on, legislatures were unfolding at that particular point in time. So most of these people were fearful to challenge this decision. Members of the NEC, even
because
some
they
of the
had
deployees,
ambitions of being in the legislatures and in government.
Correct. Even members of deployees, just by the way, who were deployed in this province. Some of them were against this decision, but because they were so fearful to say, if we challenge this thing, chances of us emerging into corridors of power in government are going to be slim. So we'll either leave these ones to die, then we survive. So these are people that were sharing. Even others were still talking to them to say, but you guys were disbanded wrongly. But I'm saying, Musa, be that as it may, that is a decision which we respected, and we still
abided by the decision.
Of course, we still respect. Although some of us, we felt it was a wrong decision, and of course I raised it with Goodlet to say, but my brother, what you guys did here, it's not in the spirit of renewal of the ANC Youth League. But it's fine, because you are the upper structure, we respect that particular decision, and we still respect that particular decision. And we respect it because we don't want to sound bitter, and we support even the current sitting leaderships of the ANC Youth League across all the regions, including the PEC, which is led by Comrade Bedwell and Comrade Talent. We support. These are young people that requires our support, and for them to actually not suffer the same fate as us.
Well, I have to ask you, I know that there are certain names you don't want to drop, but I'm sure the one of the leadership that you served with, you don't mind sharing. Leading up to the conference in the province, yes, there were other candidates who were touted to be chairpersons. Obviously, it was a lobbying stage. But among the very interesting positions was that one of secretary. Because Zwelo Maslela in the province, he was campaigning for secretary. And lo and behold, to our surprise, who attended the conference and observed, what changed? Do you perhaps know what changed? And what...
You mean the provincial secretary?
Yeah.
Okay.
What resulted in... Because I know that there was somewhat of a group that was lobbying for yourself to be chair, Thandeka to be secretary. But also there was equally another grouping that was lobbying for Zwelo, at least, to be secretary of the ANC Youth League in the province. Do you recall what happened subsequently that led to Zwelo becoming the deputy secretary?
when those discussions were taking place, I must be frank with you, Musa.
Yeah.
I'm that particular person who's always frank. I was never part of those discussions.
You were never part, yeah.
I know that Castro, on behalf of our region, was part of those that were leading discussions.
Sure.
Of course, because we had an interest of Thulasizwe becoming a chair.
Sure.
On behalf of Gert Sibande.
Sure.
Of course, you will have someone from Kangala, you will have someone from Eshanzeni.
Sure. Lobbying each other, I suppose.
Lobbying each other,
Yeah.
of course, yes. So to say how did they reach a discussion, a decision to say this one must be secretary, this one must not be secretary, I wouldn't know,
Sure.
honestly speaking. But what I know is that these groups and lobby groups that we are talking about are lobby groups that were working together.
Mm-hmm.
We're working together with Zwelo, working together with Thandeka. They were working together with myself. So the outcome of that conference was as a product of the discussion which were undertaken by Bo Castro and the like.
Sure.
So I was not part of that
Sure.
discussion because how some lobby groups work, you don't brief the candidate affected
Sure.
about some of the ongoing. So you must
Sure.
focus on other things, try to reach out to other people that can assist that particular campaign.
Sure.
But those that we have assigned, you must assign them and deal with those issues. So that was the nature of the game at that particular point in time. I know for the fact that there were allegations that some of us did not want Zwelo, some of us preferred Thandeka, which is something that is not true.
Did you prefer Thandeka?
No, I'm saying,
I'm asking you now, did you prefer her?
I preferred any candidate.
Sure.
Zwelo is a congressperson. He grew up in the Congress movement. He understands politics.
Yeah.
You can see even when he articulates, understand the ANC.
Yeah.
So I would have served with any of them.
Sure.
I preferred both of them.
Sure.
I still prefer both of them.
Did you then, as a province now, Zwelo is a deputy secretary. There's a national congress. I think he puts up his name. He's among those who were also lobbying other provinces, because I remember seeing him in other parts of the country,
Yes.
in provinces, lobbying, those provinces to vote for him. Did you then, as a province of Mpumalanga, support his pursuits as treasurer or any position he would have loved to be?
The leadership that was led by myself supported Zwelo 100%.
For which position? For treasurer?
For the treasurer position.
Sure.
Why am I saying that? The person that was out there campaigning out of all the candidates, remember there was the name of Lakizita.
Sure, I remember.
There was also a name of Thandeka.
Sure.
Which came after all these names. Now, you will know that there are politics within our regions and so on and so forth. I personally facilitated a discussion between Zwelo and Lakizita and other comrades to say, I spoke to Lakip just before that meeting to say, my brother, I can hear, you never told me that you want to become the deputy president of the ANC Youth League. But in my view is that your campaign is late. You do possess the necessary attributes to be leader of the ANC nationally, ANC Youth League rather nationally, and I would have loved to support you. But my view is that let's allow Comrade Zwelo. He has been there in the struggle. He has been suppressed so many times. Let's just allow him to accede to power and be supported by the province. That is why we ushered delegates. Sure. And I did not even sleep in that conference. I think it was that Congress. I think it took 3 days. I did not even sleep, trying to engage with other comrades and so on. I was even alongside with Zwelo at some point, discussing, briefing him that these things are going this way. And he was also briefing me because he was already ahead of that particular campaign. Because one of the narrative that was spread around was that boys of Gert, if they are referring to boys of Gert, it will be myself, Castro, Ndumiso.
Yeah.
Boys of Gert are not supporting Zwelo's candidature, which is something that was extremely bizarre to us because I was central to that. I remember we met in White River to have that particular discussion. Myself, Zita. It was Comrade Vanomncane, the then chair of Ehlanzeni.
Sure.
It was Comrade Treasure, if I'm not mistaken, was part of that particular discussion. We had agreed, even the current chair of the ANC in Ehlanzeni, Comrade Jake was part.
Chair.
Comrade Jake, was part of that discussion. I drove from Lothe. I came here to meet with them to say, comrades, no. There's no need for us to fight now. Let's support Zwelo. He possesses the necessary attributes and understanding of what the ANC Youth League needs now. So he has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he can be the leader
Sure.
of the ANC clique. We supported him. We ushered delegates. We went there, voted for him overwhelmingly. The following 3 months or so, boom, we were disbanded.
Did you then feel betrayed?
No, not really.
Because he was
Not really.
also
It's
now,
a nature of the game.
because now he was in the leadership position nationally. As somebody who came from the same cohort that was elected at Tamini with Pengtem, and then he emerges as a leader of the ANC Youth League in the country. Subsequently, then it was even not long after he was there, then you guys are disbanded.
I wouldn't say we were betrayed, because I will be casting aspersion. Probably he was overpowered. He might have not been part of those that were orchestrating our downfall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever spoken to him, any of the comrades, particularly him, just post everything?
No, I have not been speaking to him. I think the last discussion I took with him, I probably is close to 1.5 years now. Yeah. But remember, we're not
You were not
friends,
close.
we're not close.
You're just
Yeah,
leading
we were
together.
just comrades and stuff.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So, yeah, I think it does not say a reason to talk to me. Probably just to explain what might have unfolded.
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. But even if I can meet with him, we can just discuss.
Sure,
There's no beef.
Sure.
Actually, I don't hold any grudge against
Yeah.
any of these comrades. Even the SG of the Youth League, we still speak. The person that I have not been speaking with lately is the president of the Youth League. But these are fellow comrades who I believe they are doing well.
You've not been speaking to Colin simply because you don't meet, or you've just chosen not to speak to him?
He's a busy man, eh? I'm also busy in my own space.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, just around the same year, because for me it's difficult to conceptualize the fact that you've just led the ANC Youth League just for almost a year, and then from there you were disbanded. And there was a lot of things you said in that year. Among the things you said the ANC needs to do an asset verification. And I don't know if you remember, you were briefing young people and you said, yeah, we must know which assets belong to the ANC, not this thing of R38 not knowing. Do you still remember some of the utterances you made?
I think that was before we were elected as a structure of the Youth League in the province.
Okay.
At that time, remember, before I became the provincial chairperson of the Youth League, I was
already
the convener
Yeah.
of the provincial task team.
Sure.
And when those task teams were established, there was a build-up campaign of the ANC conference to Witbank.
Sure.
And I was central to that particular campaign of the ANC, lobbying for the current chair, the current secretary, the current leadership. I was extremely central, if you remember very well. But the point that we were making, the reason I'm saying we were making, is because it was a decision of the PTT, of the
ANC Youth League in the
at
province.
that time, to say, now, comrades, we have agreed that this is the kind of leadership which we are going to support, which is Comrade Mandla in the collective.
Sure.
Speedy, Chira,
Chira.
Chalinchali at that time,
Msibi.
Msibi at that time.
Sure.
So, if we identify these comrades as people that we believe are going to transform the ANC and transform the lives of our people in Mpumalanga, what mandate on many issues that are affecting this province that we can give them? Then we analyze a number of issues that we think we should give them as a package, that as they are going to be leadership of the ANC, these are some of the things that they should do.
Sure.
So part of the package that we're giving to the treasurer-elect at that time was that, look, the ANC is a movement that should continue to live.
Sure.
And for it to continue to live, it must look after its assets. And in particular, assets that were donated to the African National Congress to be in the asset register. I know that the interpretation was that I was attacking a certain individual at that point in time, but I was just passing a message from young people of the PTT or the collective at that particular point in time, that part of the things that we have resolved is that assets of the ANC that are all over must be gathered in one space if you guys ascend to power, make it a point that you develop a proper asset register, because the ANC is audited on yearly basis, just like any constitutional institution. So that is the point which we were trying to convey, Musa. Not necessarily that we were actually pointing fingers to certain individual. You see, there will be, just like you see in Gert Sibande, we bought a house and converted into offices. It is under the ANC, not under Thulasizwe. We bought 5 buckets through our own means of fundraising and so on. All those buckets are under the ANC. They are registered under the ANC. So the point and context, we were raising these issues. We were raising it in that particular fashion. But you will understand that young people of the ANC will be clumsy at some point, raise issues recklessly. Probably I raise it recklessly, but I still firmly believe that the point that I was raising, it was a quite valid point, which required attention from the leadership of the ANC to preserve assets and register assets properly.
So what did you find post? How many assets did belong to the ANC?
No, I did not make a follow-up. Honestly, I did not make a follow-up, because you will understand that even the leadership at that time, when they got elected, they had to try to deal with many issues, which I still believe that the issues of assets is not yet resolved. But we were not attacking an individual, so we were just making a call to say, let's preserve assets of the movement.
Okay, so talk us through then. Okay, maybe let me start with this. What is your honest feeling? You said earlier you are supporting the current leadership of the ANC Youth League. You are supporting the region's leadership, and true to your word, I saw over the weekend you were with Kabanga at
yesterday.
At the youth commemoration. There's a call that young people made on Friday leading up to the Youth Day. Among the many calls is for Betwell to be absorbed through the leadership structures of government, whether to be an MPL or an executive. And it's a similar call your cohort of leaders you led with, they were making at the time. I mean, you had just been elected as the chairperson of the region, of the province, and subsequently there were calls that, look, Thulasizwe deserved to be at least in government, whether to be an MPL or to be an MEC at the time. And then there was a resignation, and then that ushered you in March, if I'm not mistaken, of 2023.
Correct,
you were then sworn in as a member. There's seemingly a pattern in the ANC Youth League that once you become a chairperson, then you are entitled to a larger extent to be in government. You benefited from that. What do you make of the call now by the incumbent leadership of the ANC Youth League?
You see, Musa, the call for economic freedom in our lifetime by the then ANC Youth League of 2008 said, if we truly want to attain economic freedom, we ought to ensure that young people are in the corridors of power. Just like Colin, currently the president of the Youth League, is advocating.
But
for
he's
young
not.
people.
But he's not in government.
He's not in government, of course. You are correct.
He rejected that. There was an offer. He rejected. I remember he rejected.
I wouldn't know the reasons, but I'm saying
no, I don't.
The genuine call of the ANC Youth League was that for us to attain economic freedom as young people, we ought to have more young people into the corridors of power, governing, putting laws, and so on and so forth. So some of us are beneficiaries of that particular call. And that is why whenever we speak with passion that young people must enter the corridors of power. Coming to what we are talking about, the Betwell Zumuza situation, the current sitting leadership of the ANC Youth League National took a decision to say all chairs of the provinces must go to the legislatures. It was their decision out of their own wisdom, of course guided by certain principles to say why they are saying that. I think their push for that is precisely because of that particular resolution. Now, I think the trend is actually necessitated by the fact that if you are the chair of the ANC, it's not necessarily that it's an entitlement. Any leader, you see, I led with leaders that were better than myself.
Sure.
Any leader can be an MPL or can be moved to any other position. But at that time, the ANC Youth League felt that this is the person that we strongly feel should go.
Yeah.
Others that I'm close to can tell you that I was actually rejecting that particular position.
Sure.
Because I felt I was a bit young. I felt I was rushing. But secondly, I was too much comfortable as the chief of staff of Walter Mgomezulu in the Gert Sibande district. And I could not be on the spotlight at that particular point in time. Even now, when we take discussions with the Premier, it's one person that I agree with, it's one person that I disagree with. He knows that I always challenge him. I always tell him to say, look, whenever there's a time where you get frustrated in terms of reshufflings and so on and so forth, and you feel that your guy, if I'm your guy, cannot be reshuffled, or you want to reshuffle me, please do that with ease. Just call me to prepare me mental that, my guy, I'm going to be restructuring the cabinet and we are affected. For we are not fixated into these positions. We are not entitled to these positions. I'm really not fixated.
I'm shocked by that.
That is why, honestly speaking, I'm not fixated to these things.
Yeah.
You know, these things they call them blue lights. These things, Musa, when we were starting with the postcard, I told you that this thing is difficult. Government is difficult.
Yeah.
The department I'm leading is not a child's play.
Yeah, I know.
It's not about being shot at the river and they will open doors for you and so on and so forth. So it's deep. It's deep, Musa. So I'm saying, if the call of the Youth League, they want Comrade Bedwell to be part of the legislature, it is their call. It is they are driven by their own resolutions, just like I explained to you. But I'm saying, if that call says this particular person whom we feel is occupying a position of young people must be removed, that can be done with ease. If the ANC can recommend that Thulasizwe be removed, the Premier must actually do that with ease. Is one of the person that I always tell that, my guy, look, don't get stressed, man. Meaning, I'm not fixated into this thing. Wherever you can put me, I can make it a point that I shine wherever I am. So it does not. I don't require to be an MEC to make my point. Across. So I think it is a genuine call. Of the Youth League, and if they feel strongly that they really want this, they should actually pursue. And even if they want to remove, they feel that the person that should be removed is Thulasizwe. let them take it organizationally to say Thulasizwe must be removed. Unlike now, because someone was telling me that because I'm not on social media, especially on Facebook, that there was a call that they are making that Jackie must be removed.
No. Now they are calling for the MEC of Community Safety.
Which I don't know the reason. And I strongly feel...
they're not clear though.
Which I don't know the reason. And I strongly feel that if that call is genuine, they should have first bounced it with the province, cite reasons why they strongly feel that Masia must be removed, which is one of the MECs that I believe is doing extremely well in the province. Extremely well. So,
but obviously your department and his department complement each other. So you guys see a lot of each other in some of these oversight visits. You say you were young. I mean, true. You added the youngest in the MPL at the time. I mean,
the 6th administration.
In the 6th administration, because I think Mohita, you and Mohita are of the same age, if I'm not mistaken, or she's older.
I'm not sure, but I'm 89. 1989.
I think she's also 89 or 88. Because you were it was her and you who were the youngest of that cohort. But in this 7th administration, I mean, there's a lot of young people in the caucus of the ANC. Obviously, you're the youngest MEC in the executive. You even speak for the executive. You've got yourself, who's young. You've got Squaqua, who's young. You've got Munene,
Yes. You also have Sonto, who's relatively young. You've got Obama, who's also relatively young. So
no, we don't deal with relatives. I mean, remember, there's a post ANC Youth League and
but in terms of the guidelines of the ANC, that the young person is below 40.
40.
Yeah.
Isn't it 35?
The guidelines of the ANC.
Jeez, I didn't know that. I thought it's 35.
No, the guidelines of the ANC are saying, not the constitution of the Youth League.
Yeah.
Guidelines of the ANC on these processes. They are
Sure.
saying a younger person, it's 40 and below.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Obama is 40 below.
Oh, relatively young.
Yeah.
Look, you see, for me, there's a trend in the ANC Youth League. And I don't know whether it's a good trend or bad trend, because in your leadership or in your tenure as the chair, or just prior you getting into the legislature, there were calls made for the then MEC, Vusi Shong, to be ousted so that you can come in. And for me, I don't know why the fixation on that department. I don't know, maybe it's a departmental thing, or it's just an observation I'm making now. Because even now, they are calling for MEC Masiye, who's in the Community Safety, Security and Liaison Department. Even when you were supposed to come in, there was that call. Is it a matter of the department, or is it just a matter of the individuals preferred to be, ousted by the ANC Youth League? Because you remember when, I'm not sure if you followed, but those who were lobbying for you to come into the legislature, they were also saying MEC Vusi Shongwe must be the one who gets to be recalled so that you come in. I'm
saying, Musa, what puzzled me currently is that you can't call for a head of a person that is highly performing, just like Jackie. Jackie is highly performing.
Yeah.
He ought to be given that particular credit. But at that time when we were leading, the feeling of comrades, because remember, they were discussing my name.
Yeah.
And at some point you will observe these discussions and not contribute anything. The issues that were raised by the Youth League at that time is that the level of crime was extremely high. At that particular point in time, we lost a number of comrades in Gert Sibande. Muzi Manyathi was shot. Comrade Smile and other comrades. Sibonelo, yes, was shot. And other comrades were actually victims of crime.
Sure.
So crime was at that particular point in time exponentially growing to a point that there was no control, and we felt that that department is actually failing us. But if comparatively you can look from that time and now, there's serious progress.
Sure.
Jackie has took that department, not necessarily that I'm comparing their leadership skills, not at all. Comrade Vusi is my leader and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm saying at that time and now, you can see there's greater change. There was, of course, a time when Comrade Vusi was highly performing, one of the best MECs in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also the calls, just sorry to interject, also the call came at the time when he was hospitalized, and many people felt that was insensitive of the ANC Youth League, because I think he was just hospitalized around the same time when the call was made, and a lot of people felt like, but
probably let's agree that probably the timing of that call was wrong.
Sure.
And we thank God that he was not removed.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate the wisdom used by the then leadership of the ANC and the Premier at that time.
Sure.
Not to take the decision hasty, because probably things could have been worse.
Sure.
And let's just agree that probably when we were leading, let's just assume that the timing was not perfect. But just like I indicated to you, young people of the ANC are always impatient because, of course, of the issues that are affecting them on a daily basis.
Sure.
But at some point, we will act recklessly. If the feeling was that we acted recklessly, I think I must profusely apologize on behalf of that leadership that I was leading.
Sure. You mentioned the killings in Gert Sibande. I happened to also attend the funeral of Muzi Manyathi. I've never seen you, Dumiso, and Castro so shattered like that. How do you reflect back to that moment of, or rather, maybe let me say, when you learned of the passing of Muzi Manyathi? How did you interpret that, and where were you?
I was at home. I remember I was sitting in the car when I received a call from Dumiso. I was at my place in Lothe. I received a call from Dumiso. It was around about 6:30, because I tried to call the chair, Mgomezulu, because we'd normally talk. He could not pick my calls.
Yeah.
But I was not actually aware as to what was it that is happening. Dumiso called me Thomo. I know Ndumiso's voice when he's serious and then when he's playing. Thomo, when last did you speak to Manyathi? I said, no, we spoke with Manyathi at around 2 at that particular point in time. Then he said, Thulasizwe, I'm told Manyathi has been shot. Shot? Yeah. Then he said, but I'm not sure as to whether he's still alive or not. I called the chair, tried to call the chair. And then I think Castro called me, crying, telling me that Manyathi has been shot, dead. That was around 6:45. It was one of the darkest days of my life. That man, we were very close.
Sure.
And I strongly believe Manyathi grew up under difficult conditions, Musa. Under difficult conditions. We grew up under difficult conditions, but his were worse. He was a breadwinner. He was a congressman. He was a person that understood what the ANC stood for. He was a person that hated corruption with everything. That's why when he was shot, we easily linked the 2 days interview which he took with Kondo FM and his demise to say this is the connection, because he was one of those that were vehemently opposed to corrupt activities, especially on issues of government. So it's still one of the things that I strongly feel, if as we're in government, some of us now, if we can crack this case and make it the point that people that have done these things are brought to books, and at least the family can have closure, even ourselves as friends can have closure. But the message that one can convey to those that orchestrated these things is that we are still after them, that they must be assured of, and those that have done it, we are still after them. I know that Comrade Jackie and the SAPS are working day and night to crack this case. We are hopeful. And it will be painful for me, Musa. I'm not casting aspersions or accusing certain individuals, but I'm saying it will be painful to know that what might have happened to Manyathi has been done by people who wear same colors with us, who sing the same songs with us, who were part of his funeral, who were his comrades on daily basis, eating food with. It will be really much unfortunate, but it is one of the things that we still strongly feel. I was even saying to Ndumiso the other day that at some point I strongly feel we need to hire our own private investigator, because the state looks to be moving slow.
But wouldn't
the matter?
I mean, wouldn't that then look bad on you, because you are in government? So you would be someone saying government is not capable. Why don't you allow government to still handle it?
No, we were just having our own discussion to say probably. I think it was even before I was appointed as MEC. To say I think this matter, because it's dragging too long. Why can't we as friends probably put some few cents, look into a capable person that can crack this thing for us? Because you have a killer, Musa, on camera, on pictures, but we're struggling to get that particular person. But there are cases that have just recently happened similar to that one. Others difficult, but they've been cracked.
No, I was speaking to the MEC, Ubab Masi, Jackie Masi. Just I do this regular checkup with MECs, and I was talking to him about just political killing in the province, and he gave me a sense of comfort to say they are looking into some of those incidents that took place in Gert, and he was saying that he's going to, lobby the commissioner to just assemble a strong team to look into political killings, and that maybe brings me. Just before I pack away this conversation, like you and Castro and Ndumiso, I remember at the funeral, correct me if I'm wrong, Muzi had a child, right?
Yeah.
And you said you are going to take care of the family and the child. Allay maybe my curiosity. Have you done your part? Because I know that he was an important part in your guys, but more than a comrade, a friend. And I remember how you guys, spoke of him at the funeral. It really touched some of us, because I didn't know him personally. I know of him and, obviously his leadership roles, but I've never really met him. But having heard you guys spoke the way you spoke,
yeah.
it really touched me. And have you lived up to the promise you made to the family?
Personally, Musa, because I never had to interface with the mother of Muzi's child.
Yeah.
And but I know that Dumiso and Castro, they talk a lot with that particular lady. And
sure.
Just last year, I think there was towards Christmas, there was a discussion which was unfolding. And the lady, if there's the issues that she wants to raise with either even the chair of the ANC, because Muzi was very close with the chair of the ANC.
Because they served together. Yes, I mean, he was the deputy of the chair.
Yes. So there will be those one or two things that they do. So it's one responsibility that we do not want to actually abandon. My friends, comrades, they are taking care of that particular situation. So we talk, we update one another, we take video calls, we take conference calls at some point just to laugh. And talk about him, even his friends, to say, no, had it been this time around, actually we're in the processes of PGMs. This is where we miss him the most, because he was one person that was firm when it comes to these processes. And he loved the organization using his own resources. But I strongly feel that not necessarily the entire family, but his kid, I want to believe that Comrade Dumiso and Castro, they are on daily basis reaching out with the lady.
How rife is political killings in Gert Sibande?
Well,
I don't want to isolate, like, I don't want to use maybe incidents and then make it as if there is an issue. But because you come there, you've spent a lot of time there, and you are in the political, space.
Musa, I think that space, it's not that volatile as compared to. Oh, but even it's minimal now. It's minimal.
I think in the province generally it has subsided.
It has subsided. It has subsided. Even in Gert Sibande, I think after what happened to comrades Bonello and the other comrades, things started to subside. But yesterday or 2 days back, I was speaking to Comrade Makau, the coordinator. He attended one of the BGMs, because this element looks to be there in Con. But what might have actually brought this element into our region, it's the lack of consequence management.
I see.
Which calibrated a culture of impunity in our movement. There are certain elements or individuals that should have been long expelled in the ANC, particularly in that area of Mukon, and we expelled them later because my view is that certain elements or certain characters do not deserve to be members of the ANC. So Makau was telling me that, look, I was in this BGM, I almost got stabbed. But I tried to maneuver and leave that particular meeting. So it is actually widespread in that particular space. Msugalikwa, we are fine, we have our own politics, we are fighting there. And you know your enemies in Msugalikwa, that's what I like. That if
these are political enemies, as like we are just opponents, not physically enemies.
You know,
I would imagine.
With me, there are people, all people just for that matter, that have fought me ever since 2010.
Why?
No, for the fact that you don't succumb to them, you don't serve them, you don't agree with them, you don't beg them, you challenge them whenever they are doing wrong. So they start as opponents politically. You just disagree on political matters and stuff, but at the end you can see that this thing is escalating to personal. It's escalating to.
Has ever your life been under threat?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
not that I know of. Yeah, there will be people, of course, telling you that one is not speaking good about yourself. So try to be careful and so on and so forth. No. I will be lying. I will be lying.
No, we were just talking about Mkondo, local municipality. And it was around the same time you were then now the deputy chair. Just talk to me around to what extent does the leadership of Gert Sibande, including yourself, who were leading who were leading the ANC, take accountability of what happened subsequently in the general elections of 2024. How best do you internally, as the leadership cohort led by Ubaba Mngomezulu, look back at your shortcomings and seriously critique yourselves and say, maybe here we dropped the ball, maybe here we were not careful enough? Because you look at all the municipalities where Umkhonto Wesizwe political party emerged on, those are predominantly ANC. And to make matters worse, the ANC is in charge of those municipalities in terms of leading the Troika. I mean, you look at Mkhondo, you look at Msuka Likwa, you look at Likwa to a larger extent. Okay, maybe Likwa is an exception because even then it was led by LCF. But Governor Mpegi, you look at Dipaliseng, Dr. Pixley Isagaseme, Chief Albert Luthuli. It seems as if Mkhondo was Mkhonto Wesizwe political party emerged where the ANC should have been strong.
Maybe let me start with the first point which we have made. I think we acknowledged the performance of the ANC during the previous elections with dignity, and of course acknowledge our own shortcomings as the leadership of the ANC in Gert Sibande. Gert Sibande, it's okay, let me start with Mkhondo. In Mkhondo, if you could remember very well, we won close to 6 by-elections.
Sure.
Close to 6 by-elections where some members of the ANC resigned from the ANC because they thought they have seen greener pastures elsewhere. But we managed to clobber them and win overwhelmingly. But immediately after Mamgilosi and the current leadership entered, there was high expectation from the community to say there's going to be service delivery accelerated in that particular space. Probably they wanted service delivery instantly. And you will know that some of the things, it's a process. And when Mamgilosi entered in that space with her leadership, they entered in that space with a lot of difficulties in that municipality. That municipality had a lot of financial challenges and so on and so forth. I remember when we were doing the campaigns for these recent elections, members of the community, some of us told us that you guys are going to suffer going to these elections. Because what we expected from you, we gave you power after you were playing or you were played by some of yourselves. We gave you power and you failed to transform this community. But we are going to show you. Not necessarily that we are going to be voting for other political parties because we love them, but we want to make you feel the pain that we feel, which makes me believe that we still have stronger members of the ANC and supporters of the ANC in Mkhondo. It's just a matter of us ensuring that we expedite services and make it a point that we reach all corners of that particular space. But I'm saying some of the shortcomings were as a result of the squandering of resources by the then or the predecessors of Mamgilosi who occupied those positions, because they were so obsessed by other things, whereas ourselves was to ensure that we expedite service delivery. Of course, with Dr. Pixley Isagaseme, there are those challenges that are there, which politically we have managed to identify. But I cannot speak on behalf of the region now on issues or the next course of actions that are going to be actioned by the region. But we are working around the clock in ensuring that we turn the situation, because we are moving towards local government. Governing Big, it's a contested terrain. Remember the location of Sasol being there. There are a lot of people from outside the province who are there, who are coming with their own political parties, or rather affiliating in other political parties. So governing Big, it's a contested terrain. Every political party wants that municipality, given the fact that it is one of the biggest municipalities. Yes, in Dipaliseng, Dr. Pixley Isagaseme, we Msuka Likwa, we are also not doing well, but we have a plan as the ANC in terms of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the posture that has been taken by the provincial secretary in ensuring that he convinced all MECs that are charged with the core service delivery, and even the MECs, mayors that are charged with ensuring that on daily basis our people get services. So I think the posture taken by the PC and the posture taken by the region, it's going to assist us in the next coming few months.
Yeah.
But how we have reflected, maybe,
yeah.
Musa, before you come, I think we take this as a serious setback as the region, and our focus is that we need to retain all these municipalities.
Yeah.
Mkondo must be retained. Ligwa, that mayor is doing exceptionally well. That mayor is doing very young, is doing very well, and he needs to be given that particular credit.
Yeah.
And is making the ANC to shine.
Yeah.
That boy is doing extremely well.
Sure.
You go to Chief Albert Lutuli, Makuban, a proof, just by the way, that young people can, when they come to the space, they can transform.
Yeah.
Makuban is doing extremely well.
Yeah,
he is. Probably that is one debate which we need to take as the ANC to say, why don't we give these young people an opportunity to change?
Maybe the mayor has not,
you see.
Maybe look away from the MECs, look into the mayor.
Of course, you see. So probably look into that. But even as MECs, we're doing fairly well, eh?
Well, well, you are, but I mean, obviously there are critics. We'll come to, I don't know, because I know that I need a lot of, approval, but I'll just pick and choose some few issues. But before maybe we park this issue, maybe I might have been reluctant into asking you, Wuti, Muzi Manyathi was the deputy chair. You are elected duly, I think it was around September of 2023.
Correct, yeah.
To come and
to fill his position.
Because now there was a vacancy.
Yes.
Surely you would have loved to lead the ANC in the region. I mean, obviously you would have loved to lead alongside, the likes of your Muzi. Was it a bittersweet appointment, or do you reflect back and say, I'm continuing Muzi where you left off?
It was a bittersweet, of course. You're correct, but I told myself that look, this is an opportunity to at least make Muzi proud wherever he is, which I believe I'm doing exactly that. But replacing a person that you are close with, it's something that is extremely difficult for anyone. But where I am, and which I believe is something that we have done collectively, we honored him. And we continue to honor him. We've just named the offices after his name, Muzi Manyathi House. So I think we are doing very well, Musa. Although it was, of course, a bittersweet, I wouldn't say appointment, election, because it was the process of being elected.
Apologies to use that word. I remember. I'm just now reflecting. I remember in those 6 by-elections. The ANC in Gert, you were saying, do it for Muzi if Muzi was here.
Yes.
And, I suppose true to his traits and, to his values. I mean, people voted in their numbers for the ANC there.
Muzi was loved, eh?
Well, I never got to experience it like that. It's only post.
But they loved Mkondo even himself. So people of Mkondo understood him better than we do. He was the pillar of those comrades in Mkondo. So he was loved. So when you were actually campaigning, using and invoking his spirit, people were so very much excited, which I still believe, because you will hear others saying, but comrades, you see what you are doing now, it's not in line
with what Muzi
would have done. You see, so in whatever that you do, try to portray the images or the image that Muzi would have loved. You see, so Muzi was loved in that particular. Comrades, young people in particular, believed in that particular man. Even old people, the former mayor of Mkondo, Pegabantu Mchana, loved that guy. You see, he was humble like that. He was humble.
I remember at his funeral. There was this other man I met. He spoke very fondly of him, and I went to this and I was like, Bomaz, like I'm fine alone. Like for me, it was those personal touches, and I didn't know him, but I managed to attend his funeral.
That is why we get so puzzled. Sorry, just to interject. That is why we get so puzzled that how on earth can one planned to go and kill a so harmless soul, a person that is not violent, a person that is unlike some of us who just trip and speak whatever nonsense that we want to speak. But Muzi was just like that person who's harmless, who is was for transformation of our people, in particular black people, in that particular space of Mkono.
Do you then agree with some of the sentiments that there could have been a time where, because emotions were so high around the time of his passing, there were statements that were made, individuals flagged, and they should not have. Maybe you should have allowed the law to take its course, but because the emotions were so high, people's names were said to be the ones behind, the killing of Muzi.
Yeah, I think that situation. I think we took an interview, myself and you. 3 days after the incident, because I was the spokesperson before I became the chair. Yeah, I said to you some of the things. I think I was apologizing on behalf of the late Sibande. Some of the things might have triggered by the differences that this comrade had in that particular caucus of the ANC. Because if there's a situation, just like I'm mentioning to you, to say, in Msugalikwa, there are adversaries that I know for the past 15 years. So if there can be something that can happen to me now, those that I'm close to, they are going to just point out that particular person to say, this one has been shot by this one. So I think comrades were engulfed by emotions, and they have to be forgiven for that. Let us just allow this process, just like you were cautioning me. Let's allow this process to undergo proper processes of the law, the law to take its course. It's just that it is taking long. It is taking long, and the family is not getting the closure that it wants. And Muzi's child, I think, is if not 4 years now, is growing. And the killers of his father are still not arrested. What do we say to this young man? What do we tell him? You see. So those are some of the things that I think much as comrade acted recklessly, but we must understand where they come from.
We just concluded the 2024 general elections. We are in June, and the Premier is now past his interview. He goes for the interview process. He passes, comes back into the legislature. He's being, officiated as a Premier, and then he's tasked with the responsibility of appointing his executives. He appoints you to be his MEC for Public Works, Roads and Transport. He delegates those powers to yourselves. Was it something you knew was going to happen? I know those are the prerogatives of the Premier, because in other instances we've had people say their own people have been lobbied, for the Premier to make that appointment. But I know the Premier, it's something that he has since rubbished, that nobody lobbied him for any position. He made the appointment. But give us a sense of, when you were appointed as the MEC, your immediate feelings and reactions then.
Just like I was indicating to you earlier, I'm close with the current Premier, who's the chair of the ANC. Dating back from his campaign. He is a...
Was it Focus or Ngri? Oh, Focus.
It was Focus.
So all of you were doing this?
Yeah, it was Focus. It was Focus. Mandla is one person that is very much principled. Understand government, understand the ANC, and he's not that kind of a person that you can easily sway. I know that people, they look at him and at some point say, this man does not have it. That man
it's very meek.
It's very
very meek.
It's one of the strongest people that I've ever seen, mentally and so on. But no one lobbied him. Personally, I've never lobbied him. He knows that. I remember when he issued a statement that is going to be announcing his cabinet. I did not even call some of my colleagues to check who are these people that are going to be appointed. But I received the call, it was 11:30.
Absolutely.
11:30, midnight, that the Premier is inviting me
tomorrow morning
in his boardroom.
Wait, on that night or tomorrow morning?
No, 7:30 the night before.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
A night
Sure.
before.
Okay.
I'm just not sure of the days.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
a night before,
The
11.
announcement.
Yeah. I think there was a game, UEFA game.
Yeah.
I think there was a UEFA game because I'm a
Real
Real
Madrid.
Madrid fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just after that, I received the call. It was 11 to 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
The current chief of staff called me, Linky Motlan. The premier wants you tomorrow in this boardroom. It's inviting you. So, what must I do? I asked Sis Link. Sis Link, no, just wear formal and so on and so on. What is the occasion? No, he said, no, the premier is inviting you. I can't tell. I don't know even myself.
Sure.
So when I arrived, there were a lot of comrades, there were
Yeah.
a lot of colleagues, the ones that were serving with.
Yeah.
Oh, now you get to see that.
They are also invited.
Yeah, they are also invited. Oh, okay. Then we go there. He announced. I think you were there.
Sure, I was.
He announced. But I was shocked, eh?
You were.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Were you shocked at the department or were you shocked at the appointment?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Both, Musa. Because I thought young people or a young person like myself was not ready for a position of being in the executive.
Yeah.
So I was shocked, but I was shocked worse by the portfolio.
Sure. Yeah.
Because public works, Musa, is one of the complex creatures. And public works is the pillar of government.
Yeah.
If that department collapses, everything collapses.
Sure.
So later in the evening of the same day, I called him. Hey, Premier, thanks for the confidence and so on and so forth. But why this department? Why do you have to give me this department? No, he said, no, look at your traits and your attributes and your strengths. I think you are equal to the task. You are going to ensure that this department succeeds.
Mind you, he had just served the department.
Yes.
Wasn't that like a lot of pressure then now exerted on you, because he's going to base and judge you based on what he did and what he didn't do, because obviously the term had just finished.
We always argue about that even now. We always argue about that. I always, when we talk, I will say to him, but I'm performing better than you. And records,
so what does he say?
Records have, no, he says, Mandla is Mandla, you know.
Yeah.
Mandla is Mandla. He does not actually take offense.
Yeah, he's a very joking person.
Yeah,
even when it's serious.
One of the people that is appreciative that we are performing beyond himself.
Sure.
But he will forever remind you that I was there first. And by the way, by virtue of me appointing you, it means that I'm mentoring you to be better than myself. Just the first 100 days.
Sure.
I think we performed 89, our performance, the 100 days.
89%.
We were the second highest department.
After
Treasury.
Sure.
Yeah. Currently, the previous financial year.
Yeah.
The department was, for the past 3 years, financial years rather, it was on 63, 62.
Yeah.
The past financial year since I came to office, I projected 85, but there was minor disturbances that could not make us to
85.
Reach 85. We scored 79 as a department. Okay. So this is what I always brag about when I'm speaking to him, that look, my guy, I got this thing covered.
Yeah. Just before maybe we touch on some of the departmental issues, he makes all these appointments, and then he's also faced with a challenge now, because the gender parity issue, there were more males than the females. And he had to reshuffle. When the directive came from national, were you ever feeling, oh, maybe I'm the one who's going to be chopped? Or were you then internally in the organization told who was going to be recalled?
Just like I told you earlier, Musa, we normally take light discussions with the chair. When that reshuffling was to happen, and others were lobbying for my removal for whatever reason. Others were lobbying for other people's removal, and so on and so forth. I told him the same thing that I told you earlier, to say, my guy, look, do not actually stress. You see, some of us are going to stay here for long. We're still young. Age is still on our side. Yeah. If you strongly feel that to be removed,
sure,
at any given time,
sure,
please do so without feeling any
Sure.
pain. You see,
Yeah.
some of us are not fixated or welded to these things, Musa.
Yeah.
We understand that positions of deployment of the ANC are not entitlement, but you need to enter there, serve the people, leave whenever the ANC recalls you, and go work in the particular space. I was working in Gert Sibande, I was telling you. Working there, the ANC removed me from Suwaliko and go to work with Mngomezulu as a chief of staff. I was very much comfortable there. Very much comfortable. When they removed me there to come here, I felt uncomfortable, but because it was the call of the ANC, I said, no, why not? This is the movement that made me to be what I am.
Yeah.
My mom she's eating today, it's because of this movement. My daughter, she's going to classes schools because of this movement. Why do I therefore have to question decisions of this
You got married because of this movement.
You see.
How rife is construction mafias in your department?
Well, where we are experiencing problems, it's in Ehlanzeni, parliamentary village.
Sure.
There's that element of construction mafias. Of late is Mapulane Hospital.
Sure.
We have that particular element of construction mafias, but we have joined hands with the Department of Community Safety and Security to say all these projects, because these are projects that we classify as special projects, and where government has pumped a lot of money, we must make it a point that we get rid of all these mafias that are there. So it's in other areas it's minimal, if not there. Gert Sibande, we know nothing of that sort. Mkangala, we have not experienced anything, at least since my arrival. There's nothing that we have experienced as construction mafias. But here in Parliamentary Village, there's that element which we are going to get rid of very soon. We were just focusing in closing off Mkondo boarding school. Then we're done with Mkondo. We're here now. We're going to come here and make it a point that we deal with that. That end of Mapulane
Hospital,
it's also one of the cases that SAPS is going to be dealing with. So if you remember vividly, I think we were 6 months in office. One of the joint statements which we have issued with community safety is that the central targets for us, apart from other pertinent matters, is to get rid of construction mafias. So we are there. We want to get rid of anything that characterizes or looks or define itself as a construction mafia.
You spoke about 79%, you spoke about projections of 80%, 85% in the department that you would have loved to achieve. How much of the internal squabbles in the administration have a problem with that? The HOD seemingly is not in good ties with the labor there. How? Are you lobbying? Because I know that HODs account directly to the Premier. Are you lobbying the Premier to expedite whatever thought process is currently going on into dealing with the matters of public works? Because there is somewhat of a logging of heads there, where the union says we don't want the HOD, and the HOD is saying, but I'm employed here, I should be here. And lately there's been allegations of the HOD rocking up with personal bodyguards to government buildings. Maybe your bite into that.
Some of the issues that you are raising, especially the issue of him rocking up with bodyguards, it's a subject of investigation. We've just appointed a private investigator to deal with that particular matter and other issues. But just like here in this podcast, you have your own employees, people that you work with. It's a working environment. So there will always be disputes between the labor and the boss or the employee. So public works as a department is not immune to those challenges. Of course, the Premier is also dealing with other separate issues apart from the issues that I'm dealing with internally in the department. But I'm saying these issues, Musa, are not issues that are personal between the labor and the HOD. These are labor-related issues, which are issues that each and every working environment experiences on daily basis. Of course, there are those elements that are in there which you can identify as personal matters. But I think the Premier and the guys, and his office rather, there's a team that he established a task team dealing with these issues,
Sure.
which it's about to conclude them. And of course, we will hear from the Premier and the team as to what is it that they have found. The investigator that we've just recently appointed is still dealing with the incident that took place on the, I think it was the 6th up until the 8th of May. That the altercation that happened in the department.
Sure.
So,
is that now within your scope of work or within the scope of work of the Premier?
No, it's within my scope of work.
Okay.
Remember, whatever finding that is going to, if it affects the current HOD,
Sure.
I will have to write to the Premier. This
Okay.
is what they have found,
Sure.
and these are my recommendations.
Sure.
But use your discretion, Premier, based on what
Yeah.
the Constitution, the Public Service Act
Yeah.
empowers you to do.
Sure.
Because that is not within my jurisdiction.
Sure.
But also remember, it affects certain employees. If the report comes speaking something contrary to not necessarily contrary, but something that is opposite from or rather implicating certain employees,
Sure.
that will be a departmental matter,
Sure.
which we need to deal with. So there are two processes that are unfolding.
Sure.
The process of the Premier, the process of the department led by myself and the investigator,
Sure.
which I'm still awaiting the report
Sure.
from that particular investigator. But yeah, I think the Premier is going to deal with these matters because he is on daily basis interacting with Nehawu, apart from
Sure.
these 2 weeks since he's out of the country.
Yeah. As we close, I know all regions are somewhat going to be convening their conferences, for the RECs and all of that. Your name is circulating widely on socials. It seems as if the region is endorsing you to come back and be Deputy Chairperson. When that call is formally and properly made, would you accede to it?
Yeah, Musa. Yeah. I've never, just like I was explaining, I've never rejected any call coming from the ANC. This is a movement, Musa, that built us.
Yeah.
So whenever they want us to go and serve in any position, whether
Sure.
as sweepers on the street, whether as president, whether as what,
Sure.
we are going to accept those positions, but with an understanding, of course, that we are not entitled to these positions and we must serve our people. So when we go to conference, I'm going to accept the nomination.
Sure.
Yeah, and see to it that what is the position have for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, it's been an awesome pleasure hanging out with you, and thank you so much for having come. We are definitely watching the works that you guys are doing, be it yourself and various other MECs and various other leaders of society. We hope to sit down with them as always,
Yeah.
and just run through these particular processes. But nonetheless, I appreciate Gert.
No, Musa, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate you having us here, and we must congratulate the ANC in Tembisile.
Yeah.
We won 2 awards.
No, you did.
Tomorrow it's Tabachewu. We're going to win that award again.
I have my own views about Tabachewu, but
so
seems,
yeah. Thank you very much, Musa, for having us.
It seems that the ANC is always on by-election mode, eh?
Thanks a lot, my brother.
Thanks, my brother.
Sure.
Pumalanga, there you have it. I had a sit down with Thulasizwe Thomo, Deputy Chairperson in the Gert Sibande region, also MEC for the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport. On that note, ngiyabawuba uzimo anhlokomele nokhana ntshutubasi. Ngiyathokoza.